When you stare into the idea of not being here anymore, one question cuts through everything else. Did what you do actually matter? Did you leave something behind that made life better for others? The only way forward for anyone is through a balance of wisdom, strength, and kindness. That question, more than fame or titles, sits at the center of Jeff Speakman's life. Most people remember Jeff Speakman as the martial arts hero from The Perfect Weapon, the man who brought American Kenpo karate to the big screen in the early 1990s. What many never talk about is what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Years later, a diagnosis nearly ended his life. The treatments broke his body. Doctors gave him even odds. 18 inches of feeding tubes were placed into his stomach. His wife, Kim, had watched him survive Hollywood, build schools across the world, and inspire thousands. But watching him lose 80 pounds in a hospital bed was a different kind of fight. The real story of Jeff Speakman begins there, long before fame and long after it faded. Jeff Speakman was born in 1958 and raised in a quiet, working-class suburb outside Chicago. It was a place where people worked long hours, saved carefully, and rarely talked about dreams. There were no elite programs, no expensive coaches, no shortcuts. Everything had to be earned. He grew up surrounded by people who valued effort over talent, and that belief shaped him early. At John Hersey High School, no one handed him opportunity. He showed up on his own day after day, building discipline through repetition. Chicago's harsh winters and blue-collar rhythm carved resilience into him, and that resilience followed him everywhere. He discovered diving almost by accident. Without a coach, he taught himself the only way he could, watching others, copying movements, breaking techniques down in his mind. Every morning at 5:30, he rode a bus through the freezing dark to a nearby high school pool. Most days he trained alone, hearing only water splashing and his own breathing. Over time, those lonely hours added up. He began breaking district and conference records that were never supposed to fall without professional training. Those records became more than medals. They became a doorway out of limitation, proof that discipline could rewrite expectations. Money was tight, so college didn't come easily. After high school, Speakman worked for 6 years, taking any job he could find. He traded comfort for patience and free time for savings, keeping his eyes fixed on education. When he finally enrolled at Missouri Southern State College, he brought that same work ethic with him. He studied psychology and added biology because he wanted to understand how the mind and body work together. He graduated with honors in 1983, convinced that mental discipline could shape physical power. Around that time, another path opened. After watching the television show Kung Fu, he stepped into a Goju-Ryu karate school and felt immediately at home. Training was brutal and honest. Conditioning pushed him beyond what he believed his body could handle, but he loved the struggle. By 1980, he earned a black belt and soon began teaching. Under Lou Angel, he trained intensely in Sanshin Kata, learning to embrace discomfort as a tool for growth. Failure was part of the process. Some days he failed tests outright, unable to produce the required tension. Each time he returned stronger. He later added American Kenpo to his training under Ed Parker's lineage, studying with Larry Tatum. While most martial artists dedicated themselves to a single system, Speakman pursued mastery in both. By 1984, he earned his first-degree black belt in Kenpo, and his relentless drive caught the attention of Parker's inner circle. Over the decades, he rose through the ranks, eventually earning 9th-degree black belts in both Kenpo and Goju-Ryu, and later the 10th degree in Kenpo. These ranks reflected a lifetime of work, not ambition alone. As a teacher, Speakman emphasized psychology as much as technique. He taught visualization, repetition, and mental clarity, believing martial arts could change lives long before they changed fighting ability. His students didn't just learn how to strike, they learned how to think. Parker's philosophy left a deep mark on him, especially the idea that martial arts must evolve. Parker believed nothing should remain frozen in time. That belief later became the foundation for Kenpo 5.0. After Parker's death in 1990, Speakman felt a responsibility to keep Kenpo alive by allowing it to grow. Traditionalists resisted change, but Speakman believed preservation meant relevance. When Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu exposed weaknesses in traditional stand-up systems, he faced uncomfortable truths. Some Kenpo techniques were no longer outdated, they were dangerous. He removed roughly 25 techniques from the curriculum, reorganizing the system to include stand-up, ground defense, escapes, and transitions. Kenpo 5.0 was born as an evolution, not a rejection of tradition. Hollywood entered his life almost by accident. While running a busy dojo in Southern California, he took acting workshops after people encouraged him to try. Auditions were draining, roles were small, and rejection was constant. Everything changed when director Mark DeSalle noticed him and insisted on a screen test. Paramount Pictures took a rare chance on a martial arts film, and in 1991, The Perfect Weapon was released. Speakman insisted on authenticity, refusing flashy tricks in favor of real Kenpo techniques. The film stood out for its realism and brought American Kenpo into the spotlight. Fame came fast, but it never defined him. Studios tried to box him into shallow action roles, while he saw himself as a teacher and system builder. Films like Street Night and The Expert followed, but the industry was changing. By the late 1990s, mid-level martial arts films were disappearing. Speakman shifted his focus fully to his real legacy. In 1995, he founded the American Kenpo Karate Systems, which grew into the largest Kenpo organization in the world. Hundreds of schools, international camps, and unified standards followed. His leadership extended globally, and his background in psychology shaped how instructors trained students as whole people. He taught defensive tactics to federal agencies, and was inducted into multiple martial arts halls of fame for his impact as a mentor. Then, in 2013, everything stopped. Speakman was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer. Surgery risked destroying his voice, so doctors chose chemotherapy and daily radiation. The treatment was brutal. He spent hours each day in the hospital, lost 80 pounds, and faced the possibility of never teaching again. Doctors gave him a 50-50 chance. During that time, he wrote openly to his students, allowing vulnerability to replace invincibility. The support he received changed him. Surviving cancer rearranged his priorities. Fear no longer guided his decisions. He returned to teaching with deeper clarity and urgency, reminding people not to wait and not to postpone what matters. Every day became a gift. His promotions to 9th and later 10th degree black belt marked not just technical mastery, but a life of resilience.